Hey guys, Nuzlite here, and today we're back from my YouTube video. Today we're going to be talking about Superboy-Prime versus the Marquis of Death. If you're going to enjoy this video, make sure to like, subscribe. I decided that because these two are so overpowered, I would go balls to the wall and just use their higher end feats here. I will go over what if you use the more commonly accepted and I guess quote unquote consistent feats later on in the video. But yeah, just for a fun one, we're going to go over the higher end feats for both of these very strong characters. And yeah, let's just get into the video. When it comes to strength and attack potency, Superboy-Prime fought the Darkest Knight, and the Darkest Knight later said that they couldn't defeat Superboy-Prime. And the Darkest Knight, claimed that they could kill the Hands, who are the unseen hands of creation, or from beyond the source, the source wall itself. Basically meaning that they are beyond all creation. Basically putting Superboy-Prime at outer verso. Yeah, it's debatable if the Darkest Knight could have even done anything to the unseen hands, but considering that the Darkest Knight considered that Superboy-Prime was unbeatable compared to himself, and yet was still somewhat confident in fighting the unseen hands, Superboy-Prime should be around this tier. Meanwhile, the Marquis was capable of killing Molecule Man, who transcends the 8th multiverse, who encompasses the Superflow, the highest level of existence which contains the true forms of all concepts, where dreams and imagination merge into one. Again, basically being outer verso. So the attack potency and strength point here is basically a tie, but this can be separated with abilities we'll go into later. When it comes to speed, and as we said, Superboy-Prime could keep up with the Darkest Knight, who planned to fight the Hands which exist outside of all of existence, basically meaning that they must have immeasurable or irrelevant speed to be able to move around. And you could also make the argument that Superboy-Prime reaches these speeds anyway, due to being able to keep up with Barry Allen, Wally West and Jay Garrick, who are all amped with the full speed force, and one of them individually is capable of running through time and outrunning time completely, basically meaning that Superboy-Prime has just got irrelevant to immeasurable speed. As we said previously, the Marquis of Death scales above the 8th multiverse, also known as Eternity, and Eternity is literally omnipresent. This doesn't mean that the Marquis of Death is omnipresent, it basically means that the Marquis also has to have irrelevant to immeasurable speed feats just to keep up with someone of that caliber. Again, basically meaning that the speed point here is a tie. When it comes to durability, and Superboy-Prime is able to take hits from the Darkest Knight, basically meaning that their durability should scale to their attack potency. As for the Marquis of Death's durability, not only did they survive a multiverse-destroying attack while they were extremely weakened, but of course they should also scale to their attack potency due to taking hits from Molecule Man, basically meaning the durability point is a tie too. When it comes to the abilities of Superboy-Prime, he has heat vision, super hearing, X-ray vision, telescopic vision and microscopic vision, solar energy absorption, and regeneration. He can fly, he has ice breath and super breath, he can warp reality and time, he can create illusions and get stronger with rage, he has healing, he can turn himself intangible and invisible, and has resistance to magic, telepathy, telekinesis, antimatter manipulation, quantum manipulation, and reality warping. Meanwhile, the Marquis of Death has flight and reality warping themselves. They can manipulate space and time. They have matter manipulation, energy manipulation, probability manipulation. They can create illusions, have telekinesis, can summon things to them, including other Marvel characters to fight alongside them. They have telepathy, teleportation, shape-shifting, cosmic awareness, and age manipulation. So when it comes to who's more versatile, I think Superboy-Prime technically has more abilities, along with more resistances than the Marquis of Death. However, for his more powerful abilities, that is, I think, more in the Marquis' favour. Yeah, Superboy-Prime could turn intangible, invisible, and get rage amps, but the Marquis of Death can do pretty much all of the OP abilities that Superboy-Prime can do and more, being able to have matter manipulation, probability manipulation as well. So I'd give the abilities point to the Marquis, but the versatility point to Superboy-Prime. When it comes to weaknesses, and Superboy-Prime has an innate fear of the Flashes due to being sealed in the Speed Force for a significant amount of time. Superboy-Prime is also dangerously psychotic and insane, and will act irrationally at being the slightest bit annoyed. The Marquis of Death, meanwhile's only real weaknesses are the Planck temperatures and absolute heat. So in terms of what's the worst weakness, I mean, Superboy-Prime has more weaknesses than the Marquis, but for what's going to affect the fight more, it's probably still Superboy-Prime's due to, I mean, his weakness is probably going to be shown quite a lot in the fight with his, insane mental state and irrational thinking. Although the Marquis of Death's weaknesses are more detrimental to them if they're exploited. So, well, I'd probably argue that Superboy-Prime has more weaknesses, the Marquis of Death has more exploitable weaknesses. Now, for who wins the fight, we've gathered from this that Superboy-Prime and the Marquis of Death have both got equal, basically just stats. The, attack potency, durability, and speed are all basically tied, with the Marquis having better abilities and less weaknesses. Meanwhile, Superboy-Prime is more versatile and has a less exploitable weakness, so this fight is very close, as you might imagine. Like, Superboy-Prime and the Marquis of Death could basically just go blow to blow with each other, and the way that they can warp reality and can create illusions basically makes it a pretty tight matchup. However, I'm leaning more towards Superboy-Prime. Now, the Marquis of Death does have probability manipulation, which is basically the biggest hurdle for Superboy-Prime, because time manipulation and reality warping are very good for the Marquis of Death, but Superboy-Prime can do that too, and outright resists reality warping. Superboy-Prime also resists telepathy, basically meaning that the Marquis of Death wouldn't be able to read Superboy-Prime's mind to figure out his weakness. You could also make the argument that Superboy's heat vision could do well against the Marquis of Death due to the Marquis of Death's weakness, but there's not much to suggest that the heat vision is absolute heat. But that said, the Marquis of Death, doesn't really have many ways of preventing Superboy-Prime from winning. Space manipulation and probability manipulation can put it off, but it's not really going to stop him, especially when Superboy-Prime can make himself stronger over time with rage, basically meaning that at best, the Marquis of Death is only going to be able to match him in power. The Superboy-Prime would eventually overcome the Marquis. And also, not only does Superboy-Prime resist many of, the Marquis of Death's abilities, but being able to turn invisible and intangible basically means that he can avoid the Marquis of Death's win conditions. And the Marquis of Death can exactly use their reality warping to, change the fact that Superboy-Prime is intangible and invisible because Superboy-Prime resists it. You could say that the Marquis of Death just uses their time manipulation, age manipulation to do something to Superboy-Prime, but Superboy-Prime can just use time manipulation as well. So you could make the argument for the Marquis of Death winning. I think Superboy-Prime winning makes more sense. And if you go with the more accepted and consistent stats for both of these two, I mean, the Marquis of Death is typically put in multiversal plus, and Superboy-Prime is typically put in low complex multiversal, so if anything, Superboy-Prime wins even more that way. So yeah, while both can very easily win, I think a Superboy-Prime would win more often than not. If you're going to enjoy this video, make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Also, this is something a bit off topic. I don't usually do this in videos because I don't want to be seen as just begging for subscribers, because to be honest, I'm not that bothered by it. However, realistically, we have, as a channel, managed to come so far, and this channel is almost being able to be monetized. We've got all of the requirements, we just need the sub count to be up. So if we can hit 1,000 subscribers as soon as possible, that would be very greatly appreciated, and it also means I'd be able to focus more on YouTube as well. I mean, I'm not really too sure about setting a target, because then that puts pressure on me to then make even more content, which obviously I'm going to do. But pressure is just, unnecessary pressure is not great. But I think 1,000 by the end of the year is relatively possible, especially considering how far this channel's come over the past few months. So yeah, if we can have 1,000 by the end of the year, I've got to do a forfeit, which some of you might know already if you've seen the channel anniversary video from last year. And yeah, here's to 1k.